Hello and welcome to this edition of Iron Sports, and I am Jermaine Brown. Well, in this edition we talk about the proposals to the way bonuses are paid out at Caymanas Park, as well as a look ahead to the 20th edition of the Sigma Run, corporate run, and of course our weekly FIFA World Cup countdown. As usual, let us know what you think by heading to our Facebook page, Iron Sports JA. We take a break, but stick around. When we come back, we're going to be heading to the winners' enclosure. Sunka. And welcome back to Iron Sports. Now, Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment Limited has proposed to keep the breeders' bonus only for races in the overnight and open allowance categories, as well as graded and grade 1 stakes and all maiden and condition races for 2- and 3-year-olds. Now, we're joined by President of the Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association of Jamaica, Howard Hamilton, as well as Andrew Azar, breeder and owner. Gentlemen, welcome to Iron Sports. Of course, you're supposed to get your treats, but afterwards. Right. All right. Now, let me get to Mr. Hamilton first. What discussions has the Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association had with the board, that is the Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment Board, in recent days and weeks regarding the proposal rather by the promoting company to remove the bonus for certain races? Well,
first of all, Jeremy, let me thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to expose and inform the public of the dilemma that exists right now in the racing industry since this new board has taken over the running of the Supreme Ventures and Racing and Entertainment Limited. With the resignation of Paul Ho, it has been a rather difficult time because nobody there now seems to understand the niceties and the problems of racing and the effect that this has in terms of the whole social fabric and the entertainment fabric of the country. To answer your question, we were advised that the breeders' bonuses would be reduced. This represented some 70% of the reduction in the income which breeders get from this bonus payment. And of course, we had a meeting with them following their decision to remove it, and told them that it was unacceptable, that they did not fully understand that the breeding industry was the factory that produced for them the animals which they need so urgently to produce their programs. And any disincentive would reduce even further a decimated industry. We point out to them that back in 2004, there were some 30-odd breeding farms. Today, there are only 5. We produced some 426 foals back in 2006. We now produce only 216 foals. Our sales last year was a disaster. We have not had any new owners coming into the business for the past 10 years. The only saving grace so far for the breeding industry has been the occasional visit by Trinidadians who pay top dollar for our horses. Now, that situation cannot continue. If they wish to have a racing industry, then the breeding industry must get incentives, not have incentives removed from them. Right. They must get incentives to keep on investing and keep on doing the things that are necessary.
Yeah, let me add further context as well, because the breeders currently receive 9% of the total money for all races at Caymanas Park, right? But the new measure, according to Supreme Ventures, would save the company revenue in excess of Jamaican $20 million per year.
Which they'll stand to lose 10 times that if they ever introduce something like that.
And just a reminder, this will only be applied to races in the overnight and open allowance categories, as well as the graded stake events. Now, the meeting you spoke of was on January 16, and you rejected the proposed changes. A new date was set for March 3 for another meeting. Has anything happened since then?
We have had what the Breeders Association has done is invite all the stakeholders, the head of all the stakeholders, so that we are now one united front at last, because we appreciate what happens to one happens to all. And today's the breeders, tomorrow it might be the trainers or the jockeys. And we have now had, for the first time, a united front, and we're going forward as one body now, right? No matter which sector of the industry is being, shall I use the word, attacked, we are going to treat it as an attack on all the associations. Yeah. And we are now united for the first time, and we give God thanks for that.
All right, Andrew, I'm going to come to you shortly, but we have a response from Clovis Metcalf, who is he's chairman of the Jamaica Racing Commission, as well as chairman of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission. Let's take a look at his response.
Just like to point out to the promoters that they had agreed to a 20% increase in purses. And from where I sit, if you can't reduce that purse, I mean, you can reduce the breeder's bonus if you care, but that money, that 20 million that they're saving, can't come out of purses. You can remove it if you want from the breeders, but it has to be remain in purses because there's an agreed 20% increase. So that money that they plan to save cannot go to the bottom line of the promoters, because if it goes there, then in effect what you are saying is that you are reducing the 20% that you have agreed. So, you know, to me it's simple. You know, you can't do it unless you take that reduction and give it back to the trainers, the jockeys, the grooms, which don't make sense. Might as well you leave it with the breeders and help the system go forward.
All right, so Metcalf, he seems to be in line with what you're saying too. But your take quickly on what he was saying.
I think the Betting, Gaming and rather the Racing Commission has already written to the promoting company, advising that they're in breach of certain rules of racing, and they must rescind their instructions immediately. They have not reacted to that letter, and in fact, we subsequently had a meeting on Monday, last Monday here, where nothing positive as far as the breeders are concerned came out of that meeting. I went to that meeting expecting an apology for the arrogant and disrespectful way in which the Breeders Association was treated, and secondly, to have those directions rescinded and no changes done to the breeders' bonus, and to get from them an idea as to how they intended to increase the incentives to breeders to let them bring in more horses and produce more horses for them. We got nothing from them from that meeting.
Andrew, let me just bring in here your take on this particular issue.
Well, Jeremy, look, without a doubt, the decision by the promoting company is illogical, it's immoral, and I think it's illegal. Because immoral in the way of, as Mr. Hamilton just said, it's in their, they don't have to love the breeders, but it's in their self-interest to encourage the breeders, because more breeders mean more horses mean more participants in the races, means more gambling for themselves. So it's in their own self-interest.
It's like cutting off the nose to spite
exactly.
the face.
It's illegal, I think, in the way that there's certain ways to do things. You don't just wake up one morning and say, I'm going to foist this on the industry or ram it down their throat by, in a very arrogant, high-handed and frankly dictatorial manner in which it was done. There's a way you do it. There's a Jamaica Racing Commission that they should apply to. They meet and then they sanction it in writing. That's a reason. This is a governing body. So there's a way to do it. And you don't come to the industry and you tell them it's non-negotiable. Everything is negotiable. Now, do I agree with breeders' bonuses being paid in perpetuity? Probably not. But there's a way we could sit down and work out parameters where it can work out to the benefit of both. But I don't know if the industry is ready to take beyond the receiving end of this arrogance and this attitude. And I would advise the promoting company to revisit the way they approach the negotiating process.
No, we know you own a number of horses, and we also understand that you have been contemplating scaling down your own involvement. How does this further, or does this further discourage you
well,
in terms
I'm going to tell you the truth, Jermaine. I am, no pun intended, but I have no horse in this race because I'm not a breeder again. I've shut down my operations and gone on to other things. But Howard, right, has been a tremendous representative of the breeding industry for many years. That's a positive. But the negative, too, is that Howard, the perception is that the breeding industry is for the big man. I mean, you see him and you say the big man. It's not true. There's many, 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 many small breeders out there that use this bonus as a stipend. It's their food to keep their horse going. And when you produce a horse at the end of the year that it costs you 500,000-600,000 to produce, and they offer you 200,000-300,000 at the sale. You hope for the little stipend if the horse lucky enough to win a race to keep you going. So the company needs these grassroots breeders and the breeding in general. Every successful racing jurisdiction in the world has a cohesive and supportive relationship with their breeding industry, not trying to gouge them to death. And another piece of advice to the companies, sorry to cut you,
no, go ahead,
is there's two ways to make money. You can tax and cut your way to profitability, or you can grow your way to profitability. When the government gave them awarded them the thing for the racetrack, it was because they were going to grow their sales, fix the infrastructure, deal with the grooms, lifestyle of the grooms and the jockeys. We've seen nothing like this.
I like that point you make, because you give me the perfect segue. Sir Hamilton, how does this proposal compare to how things are done in other racing jurisdictions?
There was a most interesting article I read recently. Tasmania has just increased the level of incentives given to breeders. In the States, for instance, there's been a reduction in the capital write-off of stallions and broodmares as an incentive. They have removed the value-added tax in certain countries. But in all jurisdictions, there's a payment made to the owner of the mare that wins a race. And in the big races, the stallion of that horse that won the race gets also a payment. And it's all coming out of the purses that are paid out to the various categories, the owners, the jockeys, the grooms, etc. The only problem we have here in Jamaica is that the level of expenses that we have related to what we're getting back in breeders, in bonuses generally, it's far, far inadequate. We are getting back, owners are getting back a return of about 18% on the expenses which I have to keep and care of. No, nobody can survive at that rate for a long time.
And let me ask both of you to have a go at this one. March 7 will make it 1 year since the Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment Limited took over. Your own assessment and how would you rate it? Andrew, go first.
Well, I'm tremendously disappointed. And I don't speak for Howard on this matter myself. I was around when in other words, the government divested this racetrack to Supreme Ventures based on promises that they made. In other words, in exchange for awarding us a track, we're going to do this. I have a list of it. Change the entrance, infrastructural upgrade, purse increase, the North Lounge, the grooms' quarters. I've seen nothing like this done in comparison after year one.
You're thinking all of that could be done in a year?
No, not done in a year. But when they were awarding the contract, what I asked the same Mr. Metcalf, who was the head, I believe, of the divestment committee, was they should have a monitoring committee. So when in any divestment, not only this one, when the private company comes in and takes over and they promise certain things, after year one, we're going to do this. After year two, we're going to do this. And year three, and so on. I don't see. And you don't have to take my word. Go out there yourself. Check with the people out there. The place looks like holy hell. There's no there's no vision on the ground as to where we're going. And I don't know if there's any vision from the promoting company. So while we wish them the best, and we all try and help them, because a successful promoting company means successful racing.
Sir Hamilton, your take on how they've done in this first year?
The only thing that I've seen happen is that the place has been painted. I've seen nothing else. I gather that the capital expenditure which they had proposed in terms of fixing the place, that has been put aside to increase the levels of putting a new tote board in, for instance, changing over from United Tote to Am Tote, putting in some new signaling equipment so they can start simulcasting the racing abroad, and that is how they hope to supplement their income and to get increased revenue. So that is where the capital money is going now, instead of putting in. I gather the elevator is still going to go in no matter what happens. But in terms of fixing the boxes and the commercial boxes and the general building, that has been put on the back burner. This is what I've been made to understand.
Certainly painting a grim picture of quick one.
I'm just saying that when a private company takes over a project, they want a return on investment. They spend $1, they want to get back $1, whatever. when they took over this racetrack, the human capital, the way the grooms live, the jockey's room, are so backward that it needed. Remember, we didn't divest this company to a hustler, you know. We gave it to $1 billion company.
Right.
It was to come in and put in money, and maybe not make money in year 1, but maybe year 3. But they had to increase the infrastructural decay of the place. When you go and you see the way some of the people out here live, the grooms, the living conditions, how can you drive by as a promoting company and see it without at least doing something to alleviate the human? So it's not just return on investment.
You know what we'll do?
At Caymanas Park. It's a more human capital. You have to do the both of them at the same time.
All right. Andrew Azar, breeder and owner, and of course Howard Hamilton, president of the Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association of Jamaica. Gentlemen, we hope to have you back on, and certainly we hope to have a response from the Supreme Ventures Racing and Entertainment Limited quite shortly as well, right here on Iron Sports. Right then, we take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be discussing racing of a different kind. Soon come.